Heavenly Mountain is always covered in thick fog. Its top touches the clouds. There is a grave of swords here. In front of the entrance there is a stone stele with words inscribed on it. All who bury their sword here will be freed from obligations and resentments, and will find a new life, separate from this world. The one who removes the sword from this place will receive with it everything that was buried with it by the previous owner. Hundreds of swords are stored here. Many have already rusted and crumbled into dust. Here in the grave of swords, many of the most unusual and mysterious destinies still lie. One of the swords with a luxurious gold notch on the scabbard is stuck deep into the ground. Whose destiny is he keeping here on the Heavenly Mountain? The sounds of a bloody battle are heard from the past. The warriors shout for the master's protection, but their screams are interrupted. A warrior armed with a sword does not see obstacles in front of him. He hits enemies left and right, and runs towards his goal. His goal is a strong and agile opponent. They were locked in mortal combat. The ground stands on end from their blows. The warrior tries to deliver a fatal blow to finish off the enemy, but he always manages to dodge and attack back. The enemy's combat skill is not surprising. The warrior knows that in front of him is Jiang Taichun, the head of the demon order. But this only adds to the warrior's determination to kill his enemy. He feints and hits the treacherous Jiang Taichun with his sword. The sword pierces right through him. The head of the demon order falls to his knees, and the hero stands over him with a bloody sword in his hand. Jiang Taichun presses his hand on the wound and realizes that he will soon say goodbye to life. But he does not give up and tells the hero that he dared to underestimate him. He, Jiang Taichun, can still be reborn. The hero does not pay attention to these threats. He will kill his enemy every time he is reborn again, as many times as necessary. A tablet with red inscription appears in the hands of the head of the demon order. He bites this tablet with his teeth and asks if his enemy can afford the luxury of waiting for his revival. With a terrible roar, he disappears, leaving behind a cloud of black smoke. The hero covers his nose and mouth with his hand and cannot see anything in the streams of smoke. His opponent can cast spells and release poison at the same time. He emerges from the poisonous cloud and sees that his enemy has disappeared. The poison is already starting to take effect, and he understands that first of all he needs to remove the poison from the body. It's hard for him to walk, and he leans on his sword. There is a battle in the city, and a strong explosion attracts the attention of a warrior. Gathering all his strength, he runs to the site of the explosion. He is late. The girl falls to the ground, pierced by a sword. The warrior can only call the girl's name in desperation, Eun Hobin. But there is no answer. He runs up and hits her killer in the back with one blow, and he picks up the falling girl in his arms. He puts her on the ground. He asks her to wake up and open her eyes. The girl opens her eyes, recognizes the warrior and touches his face. The warrior asks what happened and where is Jiumyang. The girl replies that Jiumyang didn't come. The warrior asks the girl not to say anything more, so as not to waste energy. He understood everything. He asks her to hold on a little longer. He will definitely save her. He pinches her wound, but life gradually leaves the girl. He couldn't save her, and now he understands that it's all over. A warrior stands near a stele near the grave of swords. He carefully reads everything that is written on it. He leans against it and realizes that everything is written as he once heard it. The warrior takes out his sword and wipes it. He must do this. If someone fulfills his will in the same way as the descendant of the sword deity took care of old obligations and grievances, he thinks and sheathes the sword. Then he will leave for him everything that he now has. He raises his sword, and with the words, "I ask you to fulfill my will in full," he plunges it into the ground. At the same moment, his body begins to disappear, and after a few minutes there is no one on the ground. Only the sword remains among the same swords. Du Chang-woo, the Black Bear clan's errand boy, indignantly tells his boss that it's just ridiculous to sell Shirochi's things to bandits. And he heard about Heavenly Mountain, but he won't go there. Ho-Hen Wong, the master of the Black Bear clan, replies that those he wants to sell it to are not bandits, although they look dangerous. Chang-woo wonders how you can sell this without even knowing who you are selling it to. What's inside the chest is clearly a fake. What if they get caught? Hen Wong grimly replies that then they will all die. Chang-woo doesn't understand why the master always forces him to do dangerous things. It drives him crazy. The master replies that this is all because Chang-woo is irreplaceable. Chang-woo extends his hand to the boss, which is rather dirty. The boss doesn't understand what they want from him. The guy demands in advance. Before he dies, he wants to party with girls and drink. The boss has already heard from the girls that Chang-woo hasn't been visiting them at all lately. Where does he put his money? The guy replies that it's his business where he puts them. Is the young lady even pretty? The boss asks, and Chang-woo again advises him not to poke his nose into other people's affairs. Cherry blossoms in a cozy courtyard near the house. There is a lot of delicious food on the table. The girl says that Chang Woo doesn't have to bring treats every time he comes, but the guy replies that this is the least he can do for her, because she always treats him to delicious tea. He drinks the tea in one gulp, but the girl doesn't have time to say anything. Of course, he got burned and is now spitting tea. The girl asks if her friend has another hard job ahead of him. He always returns wounded after he comes to see her. Chan Woo wonders how she knows about this. Hyun Ho Bin, a wanderer who does not belong to any clan, replies that it is not difficult to find out what her friend does. Just ask around. Chan Woo says it's nothing serious. He's just nervous because he's never been to those places. Ho Bin asks, "Is this somewhere far away?" Not really, this is Heavenly Mountain. Ho Bin is very surprised by her friend's route. She knows that there is a grave of swords there. This is news to Chan Woo. He had never heard of the Tomb of Swords. Ho Bin knows that all kinds of weapons are buried there. Some say it is a treasure repository, as the weapons can be freely taken and will bring good luck. But in reality, this is just a grave and no one can take weapons from there. In any case, she gives Chan Woo advice that if something happens to him, he should definitely go there. It is said that a barrier has been erected near the grave, and those who want to kill cannot enter there. Chang Woo waves his hand nonchalantly and assures the girl that he will be fine. He shakes her hand and says that there is absolutely nothing to worry about. Everything will be fine. If only he knew how wrong he was then. There was something to worry about. Now he is running for his life, and evil people in wolfskins are chasing him. They demand that he stop. Chang Woo doesn't even think about stopping. He picks up speed, and he skids when turning. He doesn't understand how they could guess, because everything looked like the real thing. The customers were angry that such an idiot was looking down on them, representatives of the demon order, and treating them like idiots. They promised to tear him apart and chase the guy. Although he shouted to them that he knew nothing about it, they still did not believe him. They didn't care about his excuses. They wanted revenge. Chang Woo was approaching the gate, behind which was a grave of swords. The pursuers were already behind him and were swearing very strongly. In one leap, Chang Woo covered the distance to the gate and jumped over the threshold. He fell to the ground and looked where his enemies were. They were already near the gate and were triumphant that the guy had been caught and had nowhere to go. But the first of the attackers was thrown back. An invisible wall appeared on his way, into which he crashed as fast as he could. Chang Woo couldn't believe his eyes, but he didn't think long, but ran away from the entrance. His enemies could not pass and only helplessly shouted threats after him. Chang Woo walked past a large number of swords and thought that the legend turned out to be true. The barrier really existed. He saw a very beautiful sword and tried to pull it out, but he failed. Most likely, he would have to stay here until his pursuers gave up and left. Suddenly, he heard someone's quick steps and turned around to see who was running. Some figures with sabers attacked him so quickly that he did not have time to see them. Chang Woo grabbed a knife from his belt and repelled the attack. He saw that these were not people, but puppets. However, they were armed, and their intentions were very serious. Chang Woo cut off the hand with the sword from one doll. He didn't intend to die here and now. The dolls continued to attack the guy. There were a lot of them, and Chan Woo decided that he needed to get rid of the one who controlled them. He looked towards the gate and saw that the people from the demon order were shrouded in a red glow. One of them was clutching a tablet with inscriptions in his hands and clearly reading spells, and the second demanded that everything be done correctly, otherwise their idea would fail. He himself did not want to call the dolls, because this activity is unworthy of a real man. Chang Woo's situation became more and more serious. The puppets attacked, but he could not go out to deal with the puppeteer. It will never end unless something is done, and eventually the dolls will kill him. One particularly strong blow caused his knife to break. It seemed that everything was over. In a fit of despair, Chang Woo rushed away from the doll pursuing him, and he saw a sword in a sheath next to him. He ran to this sword and looked at it with despair. 3 dolls were already behind him. The guy had nowhere to go. He prayed to be able to pull the sword out of the ground, and grabbed him by the handle. The guy did his best to pull out the weapon he needed. The sword slowly began to give in to Chang Woo's efforts, and the doll's saber was already hanging over the guy's head. There was no time left for rescue. The sword suddenly jumped out of the ground, and Chang Woo grabbed it from its sheath to block the doll's blow. Strange inscriptions flashed before his eyes, but despite this he managed to block the saber flying at him. He swung his sword and the puppets lost their arms and legs from his blows. A few minutes later all the dolls were broken and lying on the ground. The sorcerer suddenly coughed up blood, and he fell to the ground, clutching the now useless sign in his hand. His partner could not understand what had just happened, but he did not hold out for long. The blow of the sword struck him. Chang Woo walked out the gate, holding a sword in his hand. He held his head and could not understand what was happening. Pictures of battle and strange inscriptions appeared before his eyes, and he could not drive away these visions. The warriors of the demon order ran towards him, wanting to kill him. He lunged at them with his sword. He had a terrible headache. He saw a mortally wounded girl. He recognized her as his friend Ho Bin. Chang Wu stood alone on the mountain. The bodies of his pursuers lay around him. He didn't understand how he could cope with them. Terrified that Ho Bin might have been injured, he ran home. He conjured fate so that everything would be fine with Ho Bin, and it was just a vision. Chang Wu burst into the streets of the city, pushing aside everyone in his path. People shouted at him to be careful, but the guy didn't hear anything. There is no point in them standing in his way when he has urgent business to attend to. He thought that maybe it was worth dealing with the passers-by who were disturbing him, and his hand moved towards the sword. But the handle of the sword suddenly turned out to be sharp and injured his hand. Chang Wu thought that he didn't have time to deal with passers-by. Ho Bin was quietly feeding the birds in her garden at home. She heard someone calling her name loudly. Chang Wu flew into the gates of her house with a terrible scream. The girl was very surprised. When she saw who had come running to her, he was glad that her friend had returned safe and sound. Chang Wu thanked God that Ho Bin was alive. The girl did not understand what he was talking about. Something happened. Her gaze fell on the sword that Chang Wu had. She invited him to come to her and tell her everything. Chang Wu told the girl about what happened on Heavenly Mountain. He was so shocked by what he saw that he immediately rushed to look for Ho Bin to make sure that everything was okay with her. He knows that all this is pointless, and no one will believe him, but he is glad that Ho Bin is alive. The girl replied that she just believed him. Chang Wu sternly said that the girl would have a hard time in life if she believed everything she was told. The girl was surprised. Was the guy lying to her? He didn't lie, it was all true, but it's hard to believe. The girl asked to see the sword and reached for it. Chang Wu pulled the sword away sharply and said that Ho Bin should not touch him. She apologized for being rude and curious, but the guy said that this sword was very dangerous. Ho Bin didn't believe it. It couldn't be that this sword was dangerous. Chang Wu showed her his wounded hand. The sword did it. Ho Bin asked, "Did this happen when he killed his enemies on Heavenly Mountain?" Chang Wu stammered and said that no, everything was fine then. This happened when he wanted to get rid of ordinary passers-by who were disturbing him. But he was ashamed, and he didn't tell the girl this. The girl realized that her friend was not telling her something and advised him not to be afraid to take the sword out of its sheath again. Chang Wu told the girl to stay away just in case, and he carefully pulled his hand towards the sword. He remembered how he hurt him. To his surprise, he calmly pulled the sword out of its sheath. Ho Bin was sure that nothing bad would happen, and she was glad that her friend was also convinced of this. This sword is the curse of fools, a sacred sword. He looks like his owner. Chang Wu asked if she was talking about the man who left his sword on Heavenly Mountain. Ho Bin replied that yes, but very soon this sword will belong to Chang Wu. The guy liked it. The girl expressed the hope that the sword would not change with the new owner. This sword is one of the noble ones, and she would really like it to continue to be used for noble purposes. Huo Bing spoke as if she knew the sword's previous owner. That's how it was. Former wielder of the sword, lord of the heavens, sage of the eastern forest, one of the 4 emperors of Beijing. Ho Bin recalled that he protected the peasants from corrupt officials and did not hesitate to face danger for the sake of a just cause. She didn't ask Chang Wu to be a hero. It's just that our world doesn't leave powerful people alone. Now the guy's life will change, turn in an unexpected direction, and the girl hopes that he will follow the righteous path. Will Chang Wu be able to accept all this? Chang Wu listened to his friend in surprise. He threw the sword at the girl's feet and said that, of course, he could not be as she imagined. Doesn't she know who he is? He is Chang Wu himself, a member of the Black Bear clan, the path of darkness, chaos, a group of evil that destroys everything in its path. That's what the Black Bear clan is. How can you start a completely new life with such baggage behind you? He showed the girl his hand and said that he remembered how it happened. He was about to slaughter the people who stood in his way as he ran towards Huo Bin. What would have happened if the sword had not stopped him? That's how bad a person he is. What did Ho Bin see in him? The girl looked at the guy and only said that he had amazing eyes. They are similar to Baek Jong's eyes, just as pure and filled with will. She spoke about him as if she knew him very well. But Chang Wu knew that a long time had passed since Bae Jong died, and the girl is not much older than Chang Wu. Ho Bin covered her face with her hands and admitted that she was much older. She has seen many eyes over the years and asks the guy to believe her. Chang Wu believed the girl, and this pleasantly surprised her. He also went through a lot. A brat who learned to steal before he could work. And he swung a knife at people at the age when his peers were sitting at their textbooks. Therefore, he and righteous living do not go together. Ho Bin objected that Chang Wu was not mentally strong enough back then. Now everything is different, and if he was on the wrong path, now he has the strength to correct himself. Changwu reminded Ho Bin that he wanted to use the sword on ordinary passers-by who were disturbing him. The girl asked if he could swing at people. She offered to try and took out exactly the same sword. She threw Changwu his sword. He caught it. And before he could understand anything, Ho Bin attacked him with her sword. He barely managed to dodge the blow, and he started to run away from the girl. Ho Bin pursued him with a clear desire to engage in battle. She was fast and strong, and Changwu had to draw his sword to hold back the attack. The girl's skill was incredible, and Changwu did not have time to dodge the blows. Her intentions seemed very serious, one attack after another without a break. Changwu was finally able to take the sword out of its sheath. When he pulled it out, the sword cut his neck. It escaped from his hands and crossed in the air with the girl's sword. Both opponents remained unarmed, but that didn't stop Ho Bin. She attacked Changwu with her fist, and she grabbed his neck. He broke free of the grip and threw the girl to the ground. Ho Bin lay on the ground. Changwu reached up and summoned his sword. The sword immediately flew into his hand. The guy raised his hand with a sword high above the girl. The sharp blade was about to hit the prone Ho Bin. With all his might, Changwu struck. His sword stuck into the floor a few centimeters away from Ho Bin's smiling face. Changwu bent over the girl, breathing heavily. He didn't understand why she hid such skills, why she tried to kill him, and why she was so calm now. He had many questions. The first thing he asked was, why did she do it? Ho Bin replied that she tried to kill him, but he only asked why. She was right. He can go from the wrong path to the righteous path. Changwu replied that all this was ridiculous. He could have killed her. Why did she take such a risk? The girl replied that because she believes in him. Changwu realized that the girl won, and he will try to live righteously. Only he doesn't know how to do it. Let Ho Bin stay with him and teach him everything she knows. Ho Bin wanted to answer the guy something, but she was interrupted by a bird that flew into the window. She dropped a strange letter. Ho Bin caught the letter with her hand. I saw that it was and was very scared. She became very serious, and Changwu replied that she couldn't stay. She had some things to take care of. The situation could get worse, so Changwu needs to leave the city as quickly as possible. Changwu said that he would help the girl with everything. She replied that this was not the place where his help was needed, after which she jumped out the window, not paying attention to the guy's screams. She thought with sadness that she could not lose him, just as she had already lost one person dear to her. Changwu didn't understand what Ho Bin meant when she said that this is not the place where his help is needed. The only one he wants to help is Ho Bin. He walked up to his sword, took it by the hilt, and asked, since he wants to become what Ho Bin needs, what should he do? His face was reflected in the blade. Hegwan, the master of the Black Bear clan, was sitting at home. When Changwu appeared on his doorstep, the master said that since there had been no news from the guy for a long time, he thought that it was all over with him. But now there is a reason to celebrate, and we need to drink. Let Changwu talk about his adventures. But Changwu pointed his sword at him, and he said that he was going to lead the Black Bear clan. The head of the clan decided that Changwu was either drunk or crazy. Changwu continued to threaten him with his sword. Then Hegwan decided to teach the impudent man a good lesson and beat him severely. Changwu simply dodged the blow, blocked Hegwan's arm, swung it, and he hit the boss in the jaw with the hilt of his sword. Then he continued to strike. Hegwan did not understand what happened to his subordinate, and it scared him. Changwu cut the bear tapestries hanging on the wall. He was going to tame the bear and create his own troop. And to do this, he first had to eliminate the leader. He tore a picture of a bear from the wall. Hegwan didn't know how to react to this. He attacked Changwu. Hegwan could not allow him to eliminate himself. He decided to fight to the end. After some time, the Black Bear clan soldiers fought a bloody battle in the forest. A cart loaded with goods stood in a clearing, and the driver watched the battle. Hegwan had just dealt with the attackers. Changwu asked the driver what he thought about everything, and he replied that everything was very good. They dealt with the robbers perfectly, and he would recommend the clan to his colleagues. The new Black Bear clan, a mercenary squad, deserves respect. Hegwan announced that they had captured all the robbers. 10 days later, the Black Bear clan came to the city. Residents joyfully greeted the soldiers. At the Chanwu Tavern, they reported that some people still do not trust them, but the mood in the city is already completely different. Although very little time has passed, Hegwan said that when they were the former clan, they tried to avoid clashes between neighboring clans and thugs. But now people are so willing to pay membership fees. Yun Saho, a member of the squad, said that she was very surprised when the former boss and Changwu destroyed the headquarters. But everything turned out great. Hegwan has to admit that the new boss is better than him. There is nothing wrong with living righteously. Changwu was grateful to his comrades that they agreed to follow him so quickly. They have increased their influence, and now they will have to protect more people. At this time, someone nearby pushed the waitress hard. She fell and they shouted at her that she had not brought the order, but was asking to be paid for it. The girl said that the guests had already eaten everything, and the guests shouted that the food and drink were bad. One of those who was sitting at the table began to hit the waitress and shout that it was her fault, and that she would have to pay. He began threatening to cut the girl's face with a knife. These were the people of the Blue Snake clan, and they hated those who worked for the Black Bear clan. But the attacker could not do anything to the girl. Chang Wu stood in his way with a sword in his hands. He cut off the hand of the scoundrel with which he beat the girl. He howled in pain, and his partner began to draw his sword from its sheath. They both heard that the Black Bear clan had fallen apart, so they acted so boldly. Hegwon also did not stand aside and joined the battle. He advised the insolent people to hold their tongues. A fight broke out. People ran out of the tavern to avoid getting into trouble. Hegwon jumped and kicked the attacker. He began to fall, but did not let go of the sword. Chang Wu entered the fight and hit the attacker again. The sword flew out of his hands. Hegwon said that he did not need help, to which Chang Wu replied that he had to go out and fight. The inn was now destroyed. Of course, the losers will pay the damages. But new warriors of the Blue Snake clan appeared at the scene of the fight. Hegwon guessed that they thought this territory belonged to no one. Neighboring clans have spies everywhere, and a rumor spread that the Black Bear clan had disintegrated, and all sorts of thugs began to behave arrogantly. Chang Wu realized that he was considered a nobody, and the time had come to show who he was. He got into a fight with two opponents. He asked Hegwon how far it was from here, to the place where the Blue Snake clan's headquarters was. He replied that it was an hour's walk away. Chang Wu decided that they were going there, to the lair of the Blue Snake clan. The soldiers of the Black Bear clan were sailing on boats to a small fortress in the mountains. They maintained complete silence. In silence, they landed on the shore. They removed the guards and went out into the courtyard of the Blue Snake clan's fortress. Chang Wu climbed onto a large rock with a firecracker in his hand. He lit the fuse and an explosion was heard above the fighting people, and a flash of light illuminated the fighters. Chang Wu looked thoughtfully at the battle that was raging below. He thought that the Blue Snake clan had always been quiet. What had changed now? After it was all over, and the Blue Snake clan headquarters had been destroyed, and the Black Bear clan soldiers had left, Huo Bin came to the ashes. She needed to find out if there was any evidence left, and in order to enter the still-burning house, she poured a bucket of water on herself. A few minutes later, she found what she was looking for. It was a coin with an inscription. Before her, the same coin was found by soldiers of the Black Bear clan. They showed it to Chang Wu. The guy didn't know what it was, and Hegwon recognized the coin. This is the symbol of the White Owl clan. Hegwon thought that the Blue Snake clan cooperated with him. Yun Saho knew that owls specialized in finding clients and earning a percentage. He used to work far from here. The last mission Chang Wu was sent on also came from the White Owl clan. They were the ones who ordered the sale on Heavenly Mountain. Chang Wu had the worst memories of this adventure. He remembered how buyers glued some black paper to a chest and immediately recognized it as a fake. He then barely escaped from there. Chang Wu realized that many black papers with strange inscriptions appeared in his life. He decided it was time to get to know the owls better and sent 2 soldiers to investigate. White Owl clan stronghold. Ho Bin tries to see through the window what is happening in the fortress from the roof. The soldiers discovered that an intruder had entered the fortress and were looking for him. Ho Bin sits on the roof and thinks about what to do next. The soldiers swear that since someone was caught and locked up, there is not a second of peace. Violators always leave a trail of dog hair behind them. Ho Bin, while she is not seen, jumps to another roof. She wanders into the library and looks for something on the bookshelf. She finds some paper, but at this time a man enters the library. Ho Bin barely manages to hide. The man approaches the bookshelf where the girl is hiding and begins to arrange the books. His name is Lieutenant Seol, and the messenger shouts that the captain is looking for him. The lieutenant leaves and Ho Bin climbs into a niche in the wall, and he enters the room from where the military can be heard talking. The lieutenant says that it's not time yet, he needs to wait, and the captain irritably replies that he can't wait, otherwise the blade of chaos will crush him. Po Dayak, one of the 4 elders of the demon order, the captain of the chaos sect, says that no matter where Lieutenant Seol was, in the Black Bear or Blue Snake clan, he always lost. What good are his plans? The White Owl clan will fall tomorrow. Why else would the leader ask the captain to keep the lieutenant nearby? But he is very young and does not understand anything. Chaos. Cult. Lieutenant Seol Yoon silently listens to the captain's speech. At this time, the guards shout that they have caught the intruder. This is one of the Black Bear soldiers, and Ho Bin remembers that she has seen such a uniform before. The captain remembers that the Blue Snake clan fell at the hands of a black bear, and the same fate awaits the White Owls if they do not release the spy. The spy confirms that the leader of their clan is very strong and will not leave his subordinate in trouble. He says that the new leader, Du Changwu, is the strongest. With one blow, the captain cuts off the spy's head. Blood splashes onto the lieutenant. This is clearly unpleasant for him. The captain tells Lieutenant Seal to make the Black Bear clan pay for bothering them. Sewell says it's not safe to show up now. They still haven't found the culprits of that massacre at the Grave of Swords that happened 20 days ago. But the captain interrupts him by putting a sword to his head. The captain tells the lieutenant to get lost, otherwise he will cut off his head too. The lieutenant promises that he will formulate a plan to attack the Black Bears. The captain gives him 10 days. Hobin listens attentively to this conversation. She really hoped that Changwu would not be involved in this showdown, but her hopes did not come true. At the Black Bear clan, Changwu tells Yun Saho that he needs to solve problems outside the city and has decided to leave Yun in charge. Yun doesn't believe that he will be the underboss. Changwu wants to recruit the remaining members of the Blue Snake clan. He divided the clan members into 2 groups, and they will change every week. Yun Saho agrees and looks at Hyegwan triumphantly. Black Bear clan soldiers load things onto a boat. They set sail. Finally, they sail home and go out onto the pier. The soldiers say that 5 days have passed since they sent spies, but there is still no word from them. Has something really happened? Hyegwan asks Changwu why he is so interested in the White Owl clan. Changwu thoughtfully replies that they might know. Their conversation is interrupted by a soldier who came running to the pier to meet the boss, and he says that Zhang and Bong are missing. They had left before, but 3 days had already passed, and the waitress they rescued said that recently, the number of passers-by who ask about their clan has increased, and she had a bad feeling about Zhang and Bong. Changwu orders to find the missing guys and increase the number of patrol units. Someone is watching Changwu from behind the wall. The guy feels the gaze, turns around but does not see who is watching him. The Black Bear clan soldiers were training. Changwu told them that if they did not coordinate their actions, they could harm their comrades. One of the soldiers asked how the new boss knew all this, how to fight. They wouldn't believe it if Changwu told them that this knowledge was just popping up in his head. He simply said that he had read martial arts novels. The soldiers of the Black Bear and Blue Snake clan trained together. They were all now members of the same mercenary squad. A merchant on the street asked them how they were doing and why they were training so intensely. The soldier replied that their leader was up to something and that several of their guys were missing. The merchant expressed hope that everything would be fine. A refreshing rain began to fall. The soldiers enjoyed standing under it after training. Changwu indignantly asked his subordinates who had disappeared recently. Where were they? One of the soldiers reported that they were walking on the mountain and his partner fell from the cliff. His partner shouted that he was wounded. The soldiers reported that monsters wearing wolfskins were walking in the mountains. They saw it with their own eyes. Changwu demanded that the soldiers tell him everything they saw, after which the entire squad went into the forest to check it out, and the soldier drew Changwu's attention that there was something here. They came across someone's camp. Maybe they were hunters, but are they gone now? Changwu saw a strange sign with an inscription on the tree. He's seen these before. So he shouted for everyone to duck down and quickly get out of here. But one soldier did not have time to bend down and was immediately killed. The party saw in horror how huge trees were cut off and fell to the ground. The people in wolf skins loudly regretted that they only had one sign and did not have time to finish what they were going to do. Changwu reached for his knife and commanded the soldiers to prepare for battle. He advised them to remember everything they had learned in training. One of the opponents attacked Changwu. The guy deftly parried the blow with his knife. He didn't draw his sword. The warrior noted that Changwu has a good sword, and he asked when the guy was going to use it. Changwu was also wondering when he would be able to use the sword. What is the problem? This sword killed his attackers on Heavenly Mountain. The enemy asked how long should he wait for Changwu to draw his sword. He didn't wait any longer and attacked Changwu. Changwu blocked the blow with his sheathed sword, but the sword easily allowed itself to be pulled out of its sheath, and Changwu struck the attacker. The soldiers couldn't believe that their boss was such a martial artist. At this time, Changwu approached them and asked if everything was safe. The soldiers asked how he defeated his opponents, but Changwu replied that he would tell him later and ordered to bring him all the objects that seemed suspicious. He had a bad feeling that something bad had happened in the city. In the city, Bong with a broken leg attacked a merchant, and other soldiers defended him. Bong said he was tired of playing games where they were nice. One of the townspeople shouted back that the bandit's true nature will always come out. Bong laughed and swung his sword at the man. He was going to kill him, but the blow fell on his friend, who came to the man's defense. Bong shouted at him to stay out of his way. Changwu yelled at Bong to stop and apologize immediately. Bong shouted, "What will happen if he doesn't want to do this?" Without much words, Chang Wu struck him with his sword. The bong fell. Chang Wu told the others to clean up everything on the street. One of the townspeople said that they could not trust the soldiers. How can people feel safe if something like this could happen again? He turned to other people and said that these bandits were not trustworthy. Someone's shrouded figure suddenly raised a voice and said that the soldiers could be controlled better. This man was standing next to a horse that was carrying a load. The man pulled the blanket off the load, and everyone saw that the horse was carrying Bong's corpse. The man said the soldiers didn't even realize that one of their comrades had been replaced, and Bong is long dead. Chang Wu turned to look at the fake Bong. He reached out and tore off the man's mask. Chang Wu himself and all the people did not understand how this could happen. Inside the mask, Chang Wu found a new sign with an inscription. Ho Bin took off her camouflage outfit and spoke to Chang Wu. That some time had passed since their meeting, and she would like to shake the guy's hand. White Owl Clan Stronghold. Captain Po Dayak angrily says that all the Chaos Sect members sent on the mission were killed. What happened to them? Lieutenant Seol replies that 2 are killed, and the rest are fine, and a woman has joined the Black Bear clan and is helping them. The captain says it's not safe to reveal himself right now, and he thinks why he allowed the lieutenant to command, and why the leader is so interested in this lieutenant. Perhaps the leader is getting old. The lieutenant says that he has another plan, and after that they can stop wearing the nasty White Owl Clan uniform. He continues that they still have not found the one who killed their people on Nesnaya Mountain, and first of all, they need to focus on this. The captain replies that it is not such an important matter, and he thinks that he is also aging, like his leader. He turns to the girl who is sitting behind him and says that the White Owl Clan will punish the Black Bear mercenaries. In the Black Bear Clan, the soldiers have discovered the White Owl Clan's post owl and want to shoot it. The note that the owl carried is encrypted, and the code must be solved. One of the soldiers broke the code and reported to Chang Wu and Ho Bin that the ambush would be between 9 and 11 tonight. Ho Bin says they need to prepare. Their target is most likely Chang Wu, but many soldiers cannot be released with him. They need to guard the city. Chang Wu called all group commanders for a meeting. The soldiers all followed the example of their commander and trained diligently. But their skills have not yet been fully developed, and they are far behind their enemies in preparation. However, they all must be in the city and protected. Some soldiers went into the forest and set traps against the enemy there. By evening, Chang Wu saw a signal flare and realized that all preparations for the battle were completed. Former clan leader He Guan stated that he would not allow the clan headquarters to be destroyed again. He personally built it, and has no plans to build it again. Ho Bin suggested that he stay in the city, to which He Guan replied that why shouldn't the girl go home to protect herself? He doesn't know how strong she is. They argued until Chang Wu came and demanded that they both shut up. Chang Wu said that you should not waste your energy on quarrels. It will be needed when the enemy attacks. At this time, an explosion was heard in the forest and another flare took off. The explosions repeated. Chang Wu realized that the enemy attack was not happening where they expected. A warrior in wolfskin broke through the fence and headed towards Chang Wu and company. It was Captain Po Dayak, who was surprised that he was waiting for a strong detachment here, but sees 3 idiots. The trio of fighters prepared for battle, and Ho Bin warned Chang Wu to be careful. The captain is very dangerous. The captain noted that he would teach the girl a lesson later when he returned here. Chang Wu replied that he would not return anywhere. He would die here. The captain said he would deal with them before his men finished clearing the city. Chang Wu asked Ho Bin to run to the city, because here they will sort it out themselves. But the guys in the city will not be able to resist for long. Innocent residents must not be allowed to suffer. Ho Bin agreed with Chang Wu. She promised to return soon and ran towards the city. The captain shouted that the young lady would not run far, and rushed after her. Chang Wu blocked his path and attacked the captain. Their swords crossed, and the captain said that he was surprised by the guy's skill. Previously, the Black Bear clan was not capable of fighting. Chang Wu and He Guan attacked the captain from different sides, but he dodged and parried the blows. He managed to wound He Guan in the chest with his sword. He Guan flew back from the impact and crashed into a fence. The captain ran towards him to deliver the final blow. Chang Wu drew his sword and shouted that they were no longer the same Black Bear clan. Captain Po Dayak swung his sword over He Guan's head. There was nowhere for him to go, but his sword pierced the ground. Chang Wu grabbed He Guan and threw him aside. The captain was not upset by this. He was sure that he would deal with these two. None of them would live to see tomorrow. He Guan asked his boss to stop the captain before he destroyed their entire headquarters. Chang Wu leaned on his sword and thought hard. He kept seeing strange things in his head. It's because he's fighting with this guy, or... He didn't have time to finish his thought when the captain came up and said that if Chang Wu was going to defeat him with this sword, then he was very mistaken. Chang Wu thought that this sword probably carried all the problems that were in his head and attacked the captain. At first he thought that his people were killed by a girl, but now he has changed his mind. This person could have been Chang Wu. The captain knocked the sword out of Chang Wu's hands and asked directly, was it Chang Wu who killed his people? Chang Wu flew past his opponent and landed near the sword. He grabbed the sword and raised it high above his head. The guy said that now he is ready to fight. His mood clearly improved. The captain did not understand why such a change occurred in his opponent. Chang Wu realized that the sword was not the only thing he received from the Grave of Swords. He attacked the captain. He felt that he had gained combat skills and could resist even a martial artist. The captain struck, but Chang Wu blocked it with his knife. Chang Wu received all the memories of Xiao Baek-jong, the former owner of the sword. Therefore his movements were fast and he stabbed the captain. Baek-jong could use all types of weapons, but he was best with the sword. Chang Wu didn't know why Baek-jong buried his sword. In his memories, Baek-jong always carried the sword with him and did not part with it. Chang Wu thought that even now the sword was absorbing him when he held it by the handle. Chang Wu realized that this sword was sacred. The captain was wounded, and it didn't fit in his head. It was impossible that an inexperienced fighter could wound the strongest master. He couldn't fight this guy. He barely fought off the knife flying at him. Blood sprayed from a new wound on the captain's chest, but he managed to knock the sword out of Chang Wu's hands. Without hesitation, he grabbed the spear that was lying on the ground, leaned on him, and with a kick he threw up the falling sword, which stabbed into Captain Po Dae-ak. The captain fell to the ground. It seemed that everything was over. The captain's body was motionless. Chang Wu needed to quickly flee to the city to help its defenders. He did not see the captain rise behind him. Hye-guan shouted to warn the guy to turn around. Under the wolf mask, Captain Po Dae-ak's eyes lit up with red fire. There was a battle in the city between the Black Bear and the White Owl soldiers. Huo Bin was fighting in the very center. The Black Bear soldiers fought back desperately. But the Owls, who were not good fighters before, became very strong and caused great damage to the city's defenders. Owls were always financiers because they could not fight well. But now was not the time to think. It was necessary to repel them. Huo Bin cut another enemy with her sword. She managed to observe the battle and saw that the Black Bear soldiers were using combat combinations that only Chang Wu could teach them. They all fight together and set traps for the enemy. One of the White Owl soldiers attacked the girl from behind. He saw that she had already sheathed the sword. Huo Bin turned around and took a fighting stance. With one swift blow of her fist, she knocked her opponent aside. And at the same moment, she again found herself in the center of the fight. She was attacked by several opponents. Her fist delivered precise and powerful blows. She fought like a martial artist, punching and kicking her opponents. None of the White Owl soldiers could get close to Huo Bin to injure her. She kicked one soldier, knocked him out of action and flipped over and rushed at another. She grabbed his head and twisted his neck. The battlefield was almost cleared of attackers. Huo Bin half-sold that the Black Bear soldiers would handle the rest on their own, and she needed to hurry to Chang Wu. The sounds of an explosion came from the forest, which scared the girl. Huo Bin ran to the explosion site and got there very quickly, but there was no one there, except for the unconscious Hye-guan lying on the ground. Huo Bin started calling Chang Wu. No one answered her, and she began to revive Hye-guan to find out what happened. She asked where Chang Wu was, and if they were done with Po Dae-ak, but Hye-guan could not say a word, but only raved. A path of fallen trees pointed the way to the mountains. Huo Bin ran there. Along the way, she wondered why the captain was able to lure Chang Wu out of the camp. Wild animals ran towards her, clearly frightened by something. Huo Bin decided that the battle between the captain and Chang Wu continued, and she hurried to find them. A strong wind rose, which prevented the girl from moving quickly. There was a battle going on in the middle of the forest. The safe and sound captain repelled Chang Wu's attacks and attacked back. The captain's body was covered in wounds, but they did not stop him from fighting. Chang Wu jumped high and tried to hit his enemy. From above, he threw his spear at him. But the captain fought him off without the slightest effort. Some mysterious words glowed in red on the captain's body. When Huo Bin saw this, she was horrified and covered her mouth with her hand to prevent herself from screaming. Captain Po Dae-ak raised his head and growled like a wild animal. The blows from the captain's sword were so strong that deep marks were left in the ground. He did not see his opponent. He simply destroyed everything in his path. Huo Bin rushed to help her friend. She held the sword tightly in her hand. She threw Chang Wu away from the sword and asked what was happening. The guy replied that he didn't know. He thought he had killed the captain, but he came to life and turned into this monster. He went mad and began to destroy everything he saw, so Chang Wu lured him into the thicket of the forest from the camp. Huo Bin gave Chang Wu the sword, which he left at the camp. Chang Wu was surprised that Ho Bin could calmly touch the sword, and he obeyed her. But Chang Wu preferred to fight with a knife and ran towards the captain. He jumped high to hit the enemy more accurately. The captain stood in a fighting stance, clutching a sword in his hands and waiting for an attack. The spear that Chang Wu threw at him still stuck in the ground. Chang Wu jumped onto the shaft of the spear. It sprang back. The guy somersaulted in the air and landed behind the mad captain. He grabbed the knife. The captain did not see that his opponent was behind him. With one blow, Chang Wu dealt a strong blow to the captain's back, cutting off the strange inscription on his back. Blood gushed from a deep wound. Captain Po De-ak fell to the ground again. The wolf mask flew far to the side. Its eyes went out. Chang Wu struck the captain's body again and again. Ho Bin tried to pull him away. The guy was afraid that the captain would be able to get up again. He really hoped that now the captain would not recover. Finally, Ho Bin stopped the guy with an imperious gesture and said that it was all over. He asked if she was sure of this, and she confirmed that she was sure. Chang Wu cheered up and decided that now everything would be fine. The Black Bear soldiers were rebuilding their camp after the pogrom caused by the captain. A postal owl was sitting in a cage, and the soldiers were reading a new letter. One of the soldiers said that it was all a trap. Recently, owls have often spread false information so that it reaches the enemy. This time the owls sent a direct letter to the Black Bear clan. Chang Wu read the letter carefully and said that he would go. The soldier advised us to first collect information and interview the prisoners. Chang Wu was surprised that someone was captured. The soldier was indignant that they were considered bandits. They took prisoners who were not killed on the battlefield. But the prisoners were silent, as if they belonged to a secret order. This was probably true. Strange things began to happen more and more often since the Black Bear clan became stronger. Chang Wu finally decided to go. The soldier said that it could be dangerous. Guan, who had not yet recovered from his wounds, got into the conversation and said that Chang Wu killed the strongest Wonya, so there is nothing dangerous for him. Chang Wu told the soldier to send a reply to the owls. He will come, but he will need to stay somewhere. The guy asked Ho Bin if she would go with him. He needs to consult her. The girl agreed. A gloomy-looking man stood in front of stone figures, under which lay tablets with red letters. He asked the servant when the last report was. He replied that 4 days ago. But there was nothing unusual in the reports. The man asked what about the spellcasters they sent there. The answer was that the spellcasters had disappeared. This news puzzled and angered the gloomy man. He looked at the ugly stone figures and asked where Gong Mu Shim was. But I didn't have time to get an answer. The sound of heels was heard in the corridor. A woman in a raincoat was hurrying down the corridor. Chang Wu and Ho Bin, who was sitting on a horse, walked through the forest. Chang Wu wanted to know more about the Tomb of Swords, and he hoped that Ho Bin would tell him everything that interested him. The girl replied that no one knows everything about this place. Only martial artists knew well about the Sword Tomb, but a lot of things had happened recently. Originally, there was a gate there, and people called it the entrance to the Immortals' realm. Then one day, a stone slab with an inscription carved on it appeared in front of the gate. Chang Wu has already seen the stele. The martial artists left their swords and their entire destiny there, and whoever came after them inherited everything. Ho Bin believes that maybe these are all legends, but there were those who believed in these legends. Chang Wu asked who it was. The girl said that one of these is Namgun Hoch Hong, the god of the sword. Chang Wu had never even heard of such a person. Ho Bin remained tactfully silent and did not reproach her friend for being uneducated. She continued talking about Namgung. He never had students because he did not want to pass on his martial art until he achieved perfection in it. In the end, he was mortally wounded, did not have time to achieve perfection, and so he left his sword in the Tomb of Swords on the heavenly mountain. Then he disappeared. This is what happens to a man when he buries his sword in this place. Chang Wu didn't understand what it meant. He disappeared, became a hermit, and was never seen again. Ho Bin replied that he literally disappeared, was consumed by the light and erased from this world, just like the previous owner of the sword that Chang Wu now owns disappeared. The girl remembered the sounds of the fatal battle, and she felt sad. Some called the Grave of Swords a cursed place that devours people. One boy picked up Namgung's sword at the age of 16. Before that, he was an ordinary servant at the stables. But after he picked up the sword, he became unusually capable of martial arts. And 2 years later, his name became known to everyone, after he killed 10,000 enemies while fighting against the Order of Demons. He called himself the reincarnation of the Sword God. Chang Wu thought that the guy did not suffer from modesty. After the correctness of the inscription on the stone slab was established, many martial artists began to bury their swords there. It was also a fashion trend. Chang Wu and Ho Bin arrived at the gate, leading to the Grave of Swords. Ho Bin asked Chang Wu why he came here. He said he wanted to check something. The guy walked up to the stone slab and touched it with his hand. Ho Bin couldn't understand what her friend was going to do. Suddenly there were footsteps, and a woman came out of the gate. The guy and girl stared at her. Another figure loomed at the gate. The woman asked if the Lord of the Sword had rid himself of past grievances. Changwu did not understand the essence of the question. Lord of what? The woman explained that she was asking if he had gotten rid of his grudge against the demon order. Changwu said gloomily that the woman had no idea what she was talking about. From his answer, the woman realized that he had not gotten rid of him. It is a bad omen for the sword to return when its destiny has not been fulfilled. Therefore the woman forbade Changwu and Ho Bin from entering the territory of the sword grave, and she advised them to go back. Ho Bin asked the stranger, "Who is she?" "She is the watcher from House Sangri, who rules the place. She said everything she needed to say. Now let the uninvited guests go their way." Changwu shouted that he wanted to ask her about important things. He shouted after her that he had pulled the sword out of the grave, and now, when he fights certain enemies with this sword, he gets hallucinations and headaches. It seems to him that this is not because the sword is sacred. It has something to do with the grave of swords. Changwu demanded an answer. The woman advised the guy not to resist and accept it all. It has always been right to take responsibility for your own karma. Changwu didn't understand what kind of karma he had, but Ho Bin flew at him and began to ask if those visions that he had at the very beginning had not yet passed. Changwu reluctantly admitted that they didn't pass. The girl thought that Baekjong never mentioned hallucinations. She pointed a sword at the woman and told her to stop. Ho Bin wanted to hear the truthful answer to the question. Both women looked at each other carefully. The guardian of the sword tomb said that she thought it was too late to ask for answers, and she took the earring out of her ear. She turned her hand with the earring towards those who had come. A shockwave rushed towards the guy and girl. They barely had time to dodge a strong explosion. It cracked the rock that was behind, and from there came a figure in a cloak. A voice came from behind asking what they wanted to know. The guardian said that bad energy always attracts evil. Even the demonic energy of the divine cult is not that bad. The woman in the cloak asked if the keeper was giving her a compliment or wanted to insult her. Changwu looked at the newly arrived woman and told Ho Bin that this woman was a member of the demon order. She asked how the guy knew this name. He replied that how could he not know him if someone was talking about it all the time. The stranger realized that the guy was talking about Captain Po Day-ak. She said that she was chasing the hare all the time, but it ran away. Instead of a hare, she found a better animal. The woman began to remove the hood that covered her face. If she takes the skin of this beast with her, the commandant will be very pleased and will give her a reward. She took off her hood and showed her face. The face was not at all beautiful, and even disgusting. Ho Bin asked how her aunt was going to fight the three of them, to which she replied that she did not come alone. She extended her hand and shouted for Fang to take all three. Chains with sharp tips flew towards the three people. They stuck into the ground, but many continued to fly. They raised strong whirlwinds and were difficult to notice, but three people stood in a cloud that enveloped them and prevented the terrible weapon from penetrating inside. Changwu had never seen this before. Ho Bin said that this is the spell that the guardian of the Grave of Swords does. The young people wanted to help their savior, but they did not know how. The guardian turned and said that this was not their fight, and had never been their fight. They must go inside and only come out when everything is over. Changwu did not listen to the guardian, and rushed at his enemy. She laughed and waved the whip that appeared in her hands. The blows of the whip made large holes in the ground. Changwu jumped up and tried to attack the woman. He raised his sword high and swung it, but the woman put her hand forward and put up a protective wall using a spell. She couldn't believe that this child defeated the strongest captain, Po Day-ak, when with one movement of her hand she threw Changwu far back. Was Po Day-ak just pretending to be strong? This guy doesn't use internal energy. Ho Bin hurried to help Changwu. The guy himself did not understand how he defeated the captain. The girl leaned over Changwu and asked how he was feeling. They were both attacked by an evil witch who was confident of an easy victory. She waved her whip triumphantly, but the keeper grabbed the whip with her hand, like a simple rope, and she told the young people that they immediately went inside and did not stick their neck out. They immediately agreed. The witch shouted after them. Did they know where they were going? The guardian broke the protective barrier so that the young people could enter unhindered. The witch shot arrows of power after them, but the guy and the girl had already passed the gate and the barrier was restored. Arrows of power circled powerlessly near the barrier. The keeper told the witch that if she left now, the keeper would promise not to pursue her. But the witch did not believe her and laughed. Ho Bin and Changwu stood inside the sword grave and listened to the sounds of fighting outside. Changwu's last strength left him, and he got down on one knee, leaning on his hand. The girl heard some rustling behind her and turned in that direction. Changwu tried to get to his feet, He wanted to understand what to do with the invisible barrier, and whether the sword could help him break through it to get out. Ho-bin saw the dove but turned around and asked Chang Wu what he saw. She showed him the place where Chang Wu clearly saw the transparent wall, and she asked if he could really see her. Chang Wu confirmed that he sees everything perfectly. She asked if this was the guy's first time meeting a spellcaster. Chang Wu remembered the episode with the dolls that attacked him, so not the first. Ho-bin said thoughtfully that this is why Chang Wu did not use the sword's internal power. If he could use it, he would break through the witch's defense. Chang Wu remembered that the witch also said something about life force, but he didn't understand at all what internal energy of the sword the girl was talking about. At this time, the sword in his hands began to glow. Ho-bin realized that although Chang Wu does not know anything about life energy, he is now using it. She said she could teach the guy. He didn't believe that it was so easy to learn. She advised him not to worry, because he already knows a lot. Chang Wu was very surprised by his abilities. The battle outside was heating up. The witch attacked with her whip, and the keeper sent rays of power in her direction. The witch cast spells that could crush her rival. One wall in the Guardian's defense was cracked. She was waiting for this, so she calmly removed the earring from her ear, and she cast a spell of 1,000 needles, which flew towards the witch, illuminating everything with a blue glow. They broke through the witch's defenses in many places, and they dug into her chest. It seemed that everything was over. The witch bent over from the blow. She swore her position was very bad. Her defenses were all gone. The Guardian told her to go back to where she came from. But the witch did not agree with this result of the battle. She promised the keeper that she would have to leave. The witch used the secret fang spell and her figure changed. The keeper did not expect such a surprise and was confused. The witch rushed to attack. She became faster and more agile than she was before. She threw the Guardian towards the protective barrier near the gate, and her long arms began to hit the barrier to destroy it. Strong blows came one after another. The witch did not show the slightest sign of fatigue. The keeper said that all the witch's attempts were useless. The witch was sure that until you try, you won't know, and she wove a huge ball of power in her hands, which she was about to throw into the protective barrier. The Guardian lost her strength and could not prevent this. Such a throw caused the barrier to burst, and the fragments scattered far away. The Guardian tried to restore the barrier, but the new power ball destroyed everything she could muster. The wounded Guardian flew back, and the witch, who was celebrating the victory, burst inside. Chang Wu and Ho-bin stood in her way, which she didn't even consider as rivals. The witch attacked the young people with a kick, but Chang Wu blocked her blow with his sword. Heels are not the best shoes for fighting, so the witch caught her heel on the sword. She ordered the young people to step aside. She was not interested in children at the moment. Chang Wu said that he had control over her and drew his sword, which was now full of power. A bright glow enveloped him. 30 minutes earlier, at the entrance to the nameless cave, white owls were talking about the need to hurry. Captain Do-ol had already arrived at the Grave of Swords. The soldier said that she could break through the force barrier that prevents swords from entering the grave. Lieutenant Seol did not believe that this could happen. The core of the spell is here. Without it, she won't be able to do anything, despite her power. If the lieutenant can break the barrier himself, then his life will be out of danger. A troop of white owls entered the cave. One of the soldiers did not have time to enter and came across a barrier. He badly hurt his leg and cursed. Lieutenant Seol told the people that according to the book, what they are looking for is here. He took a few steps and confidently indicated the place. The soldiers began to dig a deep hole. The lieutenant watched them from the side. Finally, the soldiers got to the bottom of a wooden box in the ground. The soldier gave the box to the lieutenant, and he asked if they had found anything else. The soldier replied that there was a mirror under the box. The lieutenant took the mirror in his hands. His face was reflected in it. The lieutenant asked his soldiers if they could safely open the box. The soldier replied that there was no need to open the box, because it was enough to break the mirror to destroy the barrier. The lieutenant threw the mirror to the ground, and it broke into thousands of pieces. Stones began to fall from the ceiling of the cave. The soldiers looked up in fear. The lieutenant asked to find him a second captain, and the soldier picked up the sign to find out where she was now. He said that the witch was already inside the Grave of Swords. The lieutenant replied that they could now return. The used sign fell to the ground. The soldier asked the lieutenant if they wouldn't go inside the grave. They will be able to take more trophies. Lieutenant Seol knew very well that greed is a harbinger of death. He didn't want to go to the Grave of Swords. He saw a female figure approaching them. The Guardian asked why people do not listen to the right advice, and half-baked that she now knows who destroyed the barrier. She asked the people how they even knew about this place in the cave, and attacked the soldiers. One of them fell, but the rest disappeared behind the protective wall. The lieutenant with the box in his hands and the soldiers looked at the keeper. The lieutenant asked the Guardian not to attack them. Even the barrier doesn't consider them evil. The guardian is probably disappointed by this, but they are not villains. The woman was silent and pondered something, and at the Grave of Swords, Chang Wu fought with a witch. She attacked him with new rays of force, which the guy successfully repelled with his sword. The witch began to weave a long spell. Chang Wu thought that she was building another wall of defense to attack from behind. He swung his sword and interrupted her spell, but he could not predict from her movements what she would do next. He blocked another attack from the witch with a spray of power. It was not easy for him, and he was already very tired. Ho Bin rushed to the rescue. She knew that Chang Wu did not see the spell, and the witch knew this very well. The girl taught the guy to use vital energy, but his brain could not yet perceive everything without pain. She sent a carrier pigeon asking for help, but does not know when it will come. At this time, the witch attacked Chan Wu again. He stood in a fighting stance and was about to repel the attack. At this time, a doorway opened, from which a man came out and asked Chang Wu if he was okay. Chan Wu was dumbfounded by such a surprise, and the person who came said that he came to help the guy. Ho Bin saw that he had arrived and couldn't believe her eyes. She knew who came. The man said that he would help and would not take no for an answer.